Before we start this video properly, I have some very professionally filmed footage of my sketchbook to share with you. These are just 3 drawings I worked on recently where I've been experimenting with using the Derwent Drawing pencils, and I can now announce that they are my new favourite pencil. I am pretty much obsessed with them. I hope that you enjoy this quick look at a few of these drawings, and I should just add that I added one extra pencil when I was working on these, the Caran-d'Ache Luminance Payne's Grey. I think it's a great addition to the Derwent Drawing pencils. Hello everyone, welcome. This is the second in a series of videos I'm making where I'm swatching my entire coloured pencil collection. I'm a big fan of using coloured pencils. I use them mainly for mixed media, but I would like to experiment more with just creating pieces entirely with coloured pencils. But what I wanted to do is swatch all of the art supplies I own, not just the coloured pencils. In this book, this is a really lovely book from Choosing Keeping, and I decided to start with the coloured pencils and then I'll move on to other mediums. So we started the other week with the Caran-d'Ache Luminance. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll try to remember to link it at the end of this one, so you can go and have a look at that. So I had 69, I think it was, luminance colours. And actually, since I've made that video, I bought a couple more, olive brown 50% and brown ochre. So we stopped there, and then any new ones I'm going to add under here. I think I said in that video that I couldn't anticipate adding any more, but I actually did. I saw these two swatched somewhere else and I was like, I need to add those. So today we're going to move on to the Derwent Drawing set of pencils. Now this is the only coloured pencil range that I own the entire set of. I don't tend to buy sets of pencils, I buy them individually so I can make up my own palettes, because I have a very specific colour palette that I like to work with. And I find that if I buy a whole set of pencils, there'll be quite a few that I just won't use. So I tend not to buy sets. But with the Derwent Drawing, they only have 24 pencils in the range and they are all beautiful. So I bought the entire set. So I'm really excited to share these with you. So let's start without further ado. You don't want me waffling on. So let's start. We're going to start with Chinese white. You won't be able to see that very well. It will show up a little bit, I think, or maybe not a lot on this page because this is ivory toned paper. But we'll do it for the sake of completion. I really like their Chinese white, by the way. It's one of the most opaque and creamy white coloured pencils that I've come across. So I would recommend that if you're looking for a white coloured pencil that has really good coverage, the Derwent Drawing Chinese white is the one you need. This set is just full of really natural, earthy, muted colours. So if that's your kind of colour, then these are going to be right up your street. The next one is wheat. I don't know how much this one will show up actually, because, it will. It's a bit darker than the paper. But what I will do is I will try to zoom in now and again on these as I'm swatching them in the editing. That's a really nice neutral wheat. And then we have yellow ochre. I always love a yellow ochre. These are so nice to work with. They're really creamy, like a very buttery pencil. So if you like smooth pencils, quite soft pencils, then I think you'll like these ones. We're also going to be swatching today, by the way, the Derwent Lightfast. Now, I have quite a few of those, so I thought I could combine the two because they're both Derwent. It makes sense to swatch them together. There aren't so many that it would be too much to do in one video. So I'm just going to do all of my Derwent pencils for you. And they are actually one of my favourite brands, so I'm really excited to share them, as I said. So this one is brown ochre. I just love these gorgeous earthy colours. I think I might set myself a challenge to just use these. I'm going to be going away to Suffolk. Actually, by the time you watch this video, I will be in Suffolk. And I'm wondering whether to just take the Derwent drawing pencils with me this time. So this one is Warm Earth. I will also be labelling all of these. So I'll do that row by row so we don't get confused. But yeah, I'm thinking about maybe just taking this set of pencils and just working with these and maybe a few pens. I want to keep my kit really, really minimal and simple for Suffolk because I'm not going to be there very long. It's not a working trip. I'm meant to be taking some time off, but I do want to be able to do some sketches and so on. So I think these might be the ones I'm taking. Light Sienna. This is such a gorgeous colour. It's kind of a soft apricot, really. Then we have Mars Orange. I always like a Mars Orange. I mean, look at that. Such beautiful colours. They're so understated. I really like that. And finally, on this row, we're going to have the Sanguine. I'd say that's slightly more orange than the one before. Or Rust, I guess we could say. It's a slightly brighter, more reddish orange. Right, I'm going to label those and then we'll do the next row. I've actually lowered the camera holder, so hopefully you're getting a closer shot. I've lowered it as far as I can, so this is as close as it will get, but I'll be able to zoom in a little bit during the editing. Okay, so the next one is Terracotta. This is like one of my staple colours, Terracotta. And Venetian Red. This set has a lot of rust and earth tones, so if they're your thing, this could be the set of pencils for you. So this one is Sepia, and then it has red in brackets. I don't know why it says sepia and then red in brackets, because it just looks like a sepia to me. So I don't know why that is. I've always been a bit confused by that. And then we have a really rich brown. This is Chocolate. Very, very dark. I'm hoping that these videos will be a really good database, so if people are interested in a certain range of pencils, they can get a good idea of what that range is like from my videos. I hope it's going to come in useful for people. My patrons on Patreon also get the high-res swatch, I don't know what you call it, a swatch chart. Swatch charts of these. I take a very good photo of these pages, and I'm making a database of the swatch pages on my Patreon, so they can download all of the pages as I go and use them for their reference. So I think it's quite a useful thing to have. Okay, so this is Ivory Black. I really like their black as well. It's very soft and very dense. It's like a really rich, dense colour. I really can't sing the praises of these pencils enough. I love this set. One thing I don't like is the amount of crumbly dust that comes off when you use them, but you just blow it away. That is a little bit annoying. The luminance pencils are a little bit like that too, but I just love that softness, and I guess if you want the softness, you have to put up with the crumbliness as well. So the next one is Mars Violet, another colour I really love. I I wonder whether they'll bring out any more colours in this range. I kind of wish they would, but I already feel like it's a pretty perfect set just as it is. But because I love them so much, I'd be interested to see which other colours they would add to the range actually. And then we have Ruby Earth. Look how pretty these are looking together. I always think of this set as being a very sophisticated set of colours. There's nothing brash, there's nothing too bright. It's all very subtle, muted, earthy. And then finally for this row, we're going to go with warm grey. There are a couple of greys in this set. There's a warm grey and a cool grey. We're going to go on to the cool grey next and then on to the blues. They've got some really interesting blues. On to the last row of gorgeous greys, blues and greens. I really love their blues and greens. I think they're really unique, just so muted, so earthy, so gorgeous. So let's start with cool grey. There's a slightly more bluish grey than the other one, which is a very brown grey, kind of a mid-tone grey. Then we have Solway Blue, a really, really pale, gorgeous blue-grey. Really love that one. So useful for my kind of work. I love that for skies, or if you want to add a bit of mistiness or something. It's just such a lovely colour. The next one is Smoke Blue. That has such a great name. Really nice colour too. I just love all of these. And then we have a much darker ink blue. I just love all of these so much. I'm sorry you must get sick of me constantly saying that, but they're all so lovely. And don't they look amazing as a collection? I think Derwent did such a good job with these. And we have 4 really interesting greens in this collection. First one is Pale Cedar. Looks like it's got something else on the end there. Picked up a little bit of something else. It's a really pale, misty kind of green. And then we have Crag Green, which I kind of think of as a darker version of the other one, really. And then Green Shadow. See, I love these names. So this is a little bit more like, I want to say it's earth green, I think, not green earth, earth green. The polychromos colour. I always get confused because I think I've got green earth in another range. I think it might actually be the Derwent Lightfast, which is coming up in a moment. But yeah, I think it's earth green, the polychromos. It reminds me a little bit of that. And then finally we have Olive Earth. So a slightly darker, more brownish green. I'm going to write the names down of those ones, and then I actually have, before we get on to the Derwent Lightfast, I actually have 2 Derwent Pro Colour. So I think I'm going to add them to this page, and then we'll start a new page for the Lightfast. So I just have 2 from the Pro Colour range, Spruce Green and Cedar Green. I think it was because this range wasn't as Lightfast as the Derwent Drawing and the Derwent Lightfast, so I didn't want to risk it with any more. So I thought I'd just get Spruce Green and Cedar Green, but they're really lovely colours. So let's just write here, Derwent Pro Colour, and we'll do, which one should we do first? Maybe we'll do Spruce Green first. These are also a much harder pencil than either the Lightfast or the drawing pencil. So they could be good ones if you want a harder pencil, but I tend to prefer softer pencils, generally speaking. But it is nice to have some of each. So I do have both hard and soft ranges of pencils. That is such a nice blue-green. Again, a really nice earthy green, which I obviously love. But I feel like I'm having to work a lot harder to get like a really intense colour with these ones. So I think that was another reason that I decided to just stick with two. So this one is Cedar Green. Derwent do some amazing greens. You'll see this with the Lightfast range that I'm about to show you. I feel like I love luminance pencils, and I've always said that luminance are my favourite range of pencils, and they still are, but I think Derwent Drawing and Derwent Lightfast are up there with luminance. And where they beat luminance is that I feel like in the luminance range there aren't enough really interesting subtle greens. There are a few, but there aren't that many. And I feel like when you're a landscape artist, you need as many different greens as possible. Well, you certainly do if you live in the UK. So what I'll do is I'll write the names there, and I'm going to hold this up very close to the camera and you can have a really good look at the colours. But yeah, feel free to pause the video, take a screenshot and use these for your own reference.
Vitamins and history books, psychology and a different way to look at it all.
So moving on to Derwent Lightfast, which I've told you are one of my favourite ranges of pencils. They do remind me a little bit of the luminance. They look a little bit like them, and they also feel a little bit like them when you're working with them. So yeah, these are a really nice addition to the luminance. I think if you like luminance, you'll probably like these. So I'm going to show you the gorgeous range of colours that I have, starting with Mist. So this is a really lovely cool grey, quite a pale grey. The next one is Platinum. So this is another very cool pale grey, slightly more blue. I can't seem to get enough of these types of colours, a bit like greens. This one is Cloud Grey. What a nice name. This one actually feels even softer than the others. It's interesting in ranges of pencils that they do vary within the range. And the next one is Granite. You're going to say, Natasha, these are also similar. And I'm going to say, I know they're kind of similar, but I don't care. It makes me happy to have them, and they make me inspired, and you know what? It doesn't matter as long as you love the colours you're using. Doesn't matter if you have similar ones. Right, this one is Fossil Grey, and this is a slightly different grey to the ones we've looked at so far. It's much more pink. It's kind of a pinkish beige, I guess I would call it. And I love the name of it. I think the Derwent Lightfast are really well named. And then we have a very, very pale pink called Oyster. It's going to be barely noticeable on this page. Quite a cool toned pink as well. And we have two other pinks here. This one is Salmon. It's a really nice subtle pink. And then finally we have Dusky Pink, which is a nice earthy vintage pink. We're going to move on to some slightly more purpley kind of colours now, violet colours. This one's Wild Lavender. Now I'm not entirely sure why I bought this one, because I haven't used it very much and it's not really my kind of colour. It's a very beautiful colour. I think it's almost like the colour of wisteria really in the springtime. At the moment I haven't used it that much, but you never know, maybe I will. I think it's a very pretty colour. I just can't see how to use it in my work, but yeah, Wild Lavender. And then we have Mars Violet again, which, as you know, I love. And I think this one, to me, it looks slightly more brown than the Mars Violet Derwent Drawing. So even though they have the same name, they are a little bit different. And then we have Taupe. It's a lovely mauve brown kind of colour. I really like this one. And then purple. Now I'm not normally a purple person, but this purple is a really warm earthy colour. It's more like, I would say it's more like a plum. I've used this quite a lot. I have another one of these as well. But they've just called it purple. Now this one is Blue Violet. Very nice night landscape colour. Or for adding shadow as well. And then we have Nightshade. So this is a really dark purple. And then we'll move on to the blues. The palest I have is called Light Aqua. Sorry about the changing light. If it looks like the light is changing, it's because it's now early evening and the evening sunshine is coming through the window of the studio. And then the final one for this row is Mid Ultramarine, which is a lovely soft blue. It's the perfect soft summer sky colour if you don't want to go too bright. I really hope the lighting isn't causing too many problems. Right, let's move on to some slightly darker blues. So we've got Midnight Blue 70%. I love their range of blues as well. I think the Derwent pencils are just such interesting colours. And then we have Mid Blue. The next one along is Denim. So you're going to see I have quite a few mid to dark blues. And then we have Dark Cyan. This is a lovely one, almost like an indigo. And then Ocean Blue, dark in brackets. quite a nice muted blue. Well, I was going to say blue-green, kind of like, yeah, a green, warmer, toned blue. Very lovely. And then dark indigo. Not as dark as the Luminance Dark Indigo, which is almost black. So if you want a slightly bluer version, this one is a good one to go for. And then Midnight Black. I feel like for this row I'm going to stop there because we're going to move on to greens. So I think we should start those on a new row. So now you're going to see what an amazing range of greens they have. And obviously I don't have all of them, so these are just some of them. So we'll start with foliage, which is a lovely yellow-green. But really nice and natural looking. I find that so many ranges have really quite unnatural looking greens, and the Derwent Lightfasts are so natural looking. I love them. And then we have ivy, which is again a sort of yellow green but much darker. And it's surprising because it doesn't actually look like it's going to be that dark if you look at the tip of this pencil. And then we have olive earth. And then green earth, which is a really beautiful colour. Love this one. This one's more of a blue-green and the others are more yellow or brown in tone, and it just looks so nice together. And then the next one is basil. I feel like they've got pretty much every green you could possibly want. And then we have mountain green. Again, it's a little like basil, but it's kind of richer, a bit more intense. And then we have racing green. Slightly more muted, darker green. And finally we have spruce green, which is another one I love. Not that dissimilar to racing green. So if you have one, you probably don't really need to have the other. Just choose your favourite. So we have more greens. I'm going to finish the greens. By the way, I made a bit of a boo-boo there while I was labelling them. This one is mountain green and this one is racing green. I knew it was going to happen sooner or later, so I'm not surprised. Okay, this is pine. This is another dark green that I really love. This one is slightly more blue toned. Then we have forest. Now this is an interesting one because it's actually slightly more, it looks more like a brown than a green, but you can see that it has a green tone to it, a green shade tone, colour. But yeah, it's very brown, but it's a really useful colour to have. Then we have seaweed, which again is quite a brown, leaning green. And then the two final greens are lichen or lichen green, however you pronounce it. I know people pronounce this in different ways. And then we have light bronze, which is kind of a green, but it's very yellow and earthy. It's a yellow earthy green. I don't even know whether you'd call it green. I kind of feel like it fits in with the greens. So that's where it's going on this chart. So we'll go on to the yellows and earths now, and I have wheat in the Lightfast as well. Let's see how similar it is to the Derwent Drawing wheat. I'll have a little look. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. The other one might be slightly more brown perhaps, so you probably don't need both. And then I have mustard, which is really quite a lovely bright yellow, but it still has that earthiness that I love. So I don't use yellow very much. You can probably tell that from my choices. But I do like an earthy yellow. Then we'll move on to dark honey. I love this. This is a fairly recent one for me. Such a nice colour. And then sandstone, another one I love. Slightly more orange than the other one. And then I have Persian orange. See, I just love these earthy colours. That's a lovely one too. I love this collection. They're just so nice, aren't they? There's lots of variety in the colours, but they're still very natural looking and very muted and just beautiful. I mean, I'm sure they do a lot of brighter ones in the range, but I tend to stick to these kinds of colours. So this is Mars orange. It's a little bit more orange. It has a bit more depth than the other rusty earths on this page. And then dark orange. Now, to be honest, this one is very, very similar to Persian orange. Was it Persian orange I said? It was, wasn't it? Yeah, Persian orange. And the last one we did, Mars orange. I mean, all three of these are quite similar, so you probably wouldn't need all of them. I'm just a bit of an obsessive. And I can see subtle differences, which I like. So, I don't know, I just kind of think it's worth me having all of them. But I could probably do away with at least one of these. But I just love them. So we're down to the last few now. The next one is Sienna. I think I'm going to fit this one on this row. That's such a pretty colour. Almost looks slightly like a really dark earthy pink. I love it. So we're on to the last few now. We have Raisin. Now this is just the most gorgeous rich red brown. I really love it. I don't think I've got anything that's quite like this. I mean, is it similar to Ruby Earth? Not really. I thought it might be, but no. I don't think I've got anything quite this rich and red and beautiful as a brown. I really like this one. This is a new one for me, actually. I haven't had that one very long. And then we have Chestnut. Again, I'm loving the names of these. This is another really nice rich red brown. slightly darker than Raisin. And then there's Sepia with red in brackets again, like with the Derwent Drawing one. But this looks different. I wouldn't say this is the same as the Derwent Drawing. Let's have a look. We'll see how similar they are. Now, I think that one's darker, the Derwent Drawing version. Kind of similar, but darker. And then I have Natural Brown, which is just a good, solid, dark brown. And sometimes you need that. Very nice though, very creamy. And then finally I have Mars Black, which is a very brown toned black. I feel like Midnight Black is actually more black than this one. This is like the chocolate, I think, in the Derwent Drawing. Yes, it is. It's very similar. Right, I'll label the last few and then I'll hold them up closely to the camera so you can have a really good look, and pause the video and take a screenshot if you need to.
Vitamins and history books, psychology and a different way to look at it all. 'Cause my perspective is broke.
Thanks so much for joining me for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, because it lets YouTube know that you enjoy this kind of content, and it also helps my videos to be seen by a wider audience. Hopefully you've found some pencils here today that you'd like to try for yourself. If you have, let me know which ones in the comment section below. Let me know which are your favourite Derwent Lightfast if you use them, and also if there are any colours that you think I would love. Okay, I'll see you again in a couple of weeks for what I think will probably be a watercolour video. Until then, take care, stay creative, and I'll see you then.